So I hate my job. I've been working in sales for about 4 years now, ever since I graduated college. And honestly, it's been a grind. I'm naturally pretty introverted, so the daily task of talking to strangers is, well, pretty exhausting. On top of that, trying to sell them something, often something they don't even need, kind of feels like getting mentally kicked in the nuts over and over again. It's gotten to the point where I'm so drained from work that I can't fully enjoy the things I used to love. Movies, the gym, video games, everything feels just harder to enjoy. But then there's this little game, Bloodborne. It's this weird comfort game for me, kind of like a cozy blanket and hot cocoa on a cold day. I first played it about 5 years ago during a pretty rough time in school. I was in this class, fluid dynamics, and, well, it was just brutal. The teacher, absolutely terrible. He could not teach at all, and his classes were painfully boring, and I remember the subject matter was extremely difficult. I was struggling hard to keep up, and Bloodborne became my way to escape that frustration. It gave me this strange sense of control and accomplishment when, well, everything else in my life felt pretty chaotic. It was also my first From Software game, so you can imagine how that went. I remember my first time in Central Yarnum just getting absolutely slaughtered by enemies, feeling lost and overwhelmed. And then I hit the Cleric Beast. And let me tell you, that boss killed me probably more times than any other boss I've faced since, even after playing all the From Software games. It frustrated me so much that I actually quit the game for a while, but for some reason or another, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I kind of want to talk about that today. So one day, as I was sitting in that awful fluid dynamics class, unable to focus because all I could think about was how to beat this frickin' boss, I realized that quitting wasn't really sitting well with me. I hopped onto YouTube, watched a few guides, and, well, I figured out a strategy. Saw cleaver, fire, oil pots, and stick close to its butt. That ended up being a pretty good strategy for most of the From Software games, or at least most of the bosses in this game. And so the next time I faced the Cleric Beast, well, I beat it on the first try. So Bloodborne taught me something. It taught me that sometimes you just need to step back, reset, and approach things differently. The game is hard, sure, but it's not impossible. And I think there's a big life lesson in that as well. One of the best pieces of advice I got from the Reddit community from Bloodborne was, don't give up. It's that simple. Just do not give up. Such a simple message, but it doesn't only apply to Bloodborne, but it applies to life generally as well. Even when things feel impossible, like pushing through a job you hate, or, trying to pass that class that it's really, really difficult, the only real failure comes from quitting. So back to the job thing, right? Life gets tough, and it's really easy to stick to what's comfortable, even if you hate it, right? So for me, replaying Bloodborne right now feels like clinging to something familiar because I need that comfort. It's like revisiting an old friend when things aren't really going the way I want to in life. But I think that's also a sign, right? A sign that something's not exactly right. And maybe it's time to start thinking about what else I can do with my life career-wise. So, like I said, I've been in sales for a while, and yeah, the money is good, but I wake up every day just dreading the hours ahead. I realize it's just a job, but somehow it starts bleeding into your life, taking up mental space, even when you're not working. And honestly, it's making me question a lot of things, like whether I'm addicted to the money, or maybe just too afraid to start from scratch. And I've thought about trying something completely new, like web development, for example, But it's a huge leap, right? Starting from zero again. And with the current job market, especially for junior developers, it just feels like an uphill battle. But YouTube, playing Bloodborne, talking about life and gaming and making something creative out of this whole mess, well, that just kind of feels more like me. So here I am, trying this out, seeing if I can make something out of it, and who knows where it'll lead, but at least I'm doing something I enjoy, something productive with my time outside of work. And here's the funny part. After all that struggle with Bloodborne, I finally beat the Cleric Beast. But the same day I beat it, I also found out that I had passed my Fluid Dynamics class. Just barely, by the way, 1 point less and I would have failed the class. And honestly, that day felt like a huge victory in more ways than one. And I still remember that feeling to this day. And it was that same mindset. Even if you hate what you're doing, sometimes you just need to keep going and see what comes out the other side, you know? I don't regret it though, even though I realized halfway through my college degree that it wasn't really my passion. I pushed through. I learned a lot about myself, met amazing people, and came out with opportunities I wouldn't have had otherwise. It's the same reason I don't regret going into sales, even though I'm miserable now. I've made great friends, I've learned an incredible skill set, and I've made a good amount of money. Now it's just a question of what comes next. Do I keep going in sales at a new company? Do I take a break? Or maybe try something else entirely? At the end of the day, I think we all face moments like this where we don't enjoy what we're doing, but quitting doesn't really feel like an option. And I think I'm at that point with my career. And even though sales is draining me right now, I don't regret the journey. Just like I didn't regret pushing through university. So maybe, just like I finally conquered this game, I'll just push through and figure out what comes next. And maybe some of you out there are in a similar place too, which is why I wanted to share my thoughts on this. And if you enjoyed this gameplay and rant, feel free to drop a like, comment, or subscribe if you'd like to see more of this. Talk to you next time.